Welcome back to Rogue versus G2, the LEC Summer Semifinal. I'm Quickshot, joined by Vedius and Ender as we're jumping into Game 3, and this time around, the pressure is on Rogue. They need to change a few things up, maybe make some slightly better decisions in gameplay. But let's turn our attention to the draft. What we've seen is the Hecarim Akali. It worked in Game 1, it didn't really work in Game 2. I wonder if it's going to happen again in Game 3.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we heard Yamatocannon speaking very strongly and passionately about the Akali Hecarim getting locked in so early for Rogue. And I do feel like in the early laning phase, Akali definitely was very successful. Hecarim was able to find a lot of these plays with Inspired piloting him. But overall, compositionally, G2 had so many answers to catch the engage of Rogue, and that's where I'm hoping to back up this Hecarim pick. They have more hard engage options. Return to the Ornn, try to find the Ashe potentially, if G2 don't take that away, because last game it was Inspired leading the charge and usually dying very quickly.
I agree with you, Ender. So let's see what the pivot tile. LeBlanc taken off the board. Caitlyn, nothing too crazy. If we're sticking to convention, Set will now be banned. Then we'll also see the Lucian ban from G2. Wow, look at me, I'm on fire.
Well, what's next? Zoe?
It could very well be the Zoe. Oh! Do we see the Hecarim ban now? Is it banned?
You have to feel it's going to be.
There it is.
Inspired.
Twitter gets what they want. There was
such a fantastic performance, multiple games in a row, and we'll see the first Lillia of the series.
Looks like it. I'm excited. I think that Lillia is a very strong champion right now. Scales extremely well. Cheeky hover from G2 of the Akali. A little bit dangerous, of course. But with Ashe still open, I feel like that should be the priority for G2. Perkz, very talented Ashe player. And I think that it would be foolish not to lock that in.
Well, in the previous game, it had a significant impact in the mid-game in terms of some of those engages with the Ashe arrow. And I want to see what G2 do against this Lillia. Last week when they played Mad, the only game they lost against the Mad Lions was up against Shadow's Lillia. And frankly, he ruffle stomped them. He snowballed that game so quickly. And it's one of the things I'm excited to see how G2 can adapt.
If I remember that series correctly, though, didn't G2 also beat Shadow's Lillia once? So
it was game. It was game 3.
Okay, Trevor. I feel like you're kind of mixing the stats up on that one. It's a little misleading.
Is what I liked. Now, Jankos on the Graves. I'm seeing a lot of chatter on social media about Jankos' Graves from game number 1 and his performance on, like, quote-unquote carry junglers. What's your take on how he's played it and what you'd expect?
Well, I would say I don't really feel like we saw Jankos' Graves. I thought we saw him make a very foolish early pathing decision to try and contest top crab that set him very far behind. But with the Graves, I really liked it into the Hecarim, who does physical damage. I like it less against a Lillia, the true get passive that Jankos built up, not going to be as effective against an AP jungler.
So, Aphelios has been locked in for Summer. Now, I have quite a few thoughts here. Largely because the first one is that this is Summer's most played champion of the split. The other thing is it seems to me that we've been seeing a lot of Senna's into Ashes so far in Europe, and it feels like that Senna almost automatically always concedes pressure in the laning phase against Ashe. And it feels like the bot lane that has agency gets to move around the map first, and then that team ultimately has a lot more control. Now, what's interesting is when you pair Aphelios with Thresh, this actually creates quite a strong 2 versus 2 lane, but you can actually do quite a lot with it. Does that necessarily make it stronger than a Senna in the 2 versus 2 against an Ashe specifically? I'm not entirely convinced, but Summer clearly is confident in his comfort pick.
Yeah, the thing is, with the Aphelios, you can match Ashe in the range department early on in lane phase with the Calirum, but you're not going to be able to match her push until you get the Infernum a little bit later on. So I think that Ashe plus Nautilus, especially with his E, should get control easier in the early stages of the lane, but of course, that can swing a little bit later on with some good bullet management.
And of course, Vedius, you mentioned it, Summer's most played 10 games during the regular season, 7 of which were victories for him, and this is his first Aphelios in playoffs. As we jump into phase 2 bans, the Akali is now removed, as is the Ornn. Rogue targeting the Camille for now. So we're going to see how will these two team compositions round out. Zoe was banned for the first 2 games and in the first phase. Would it fit the comp?
I don't love Zoe against Thresh in particular. That being said, Caps is a phenomenal Zoe player, but the Lantern offers a lot of safety. So if VandeR rather is playing a good game on this Thresh and is always around to offer up a Lantern, you can deny any follow-up on those Sleepy Trouble bubbles.
I think it's going to be Azir. I think it's going to be Azir. I wanted to say Ornn, but obviously Ornn is banned. The other thought was Gangplank, and that would be very Rogue-esque. Because they need a front line.
I would prefer a Scion, personally.
That's what I think. I think a Scion would be better. I think Gangplank blind is really dangerous, but they're going to do it. Okay. I think that Gangplank blind is largely what punished Rogue so much in their series versus Fnatic, and I think that we already saw what Wunder is capable of doing, and also I think that G2 could just go for the Scion once again. So I think that Rogue have kind of backtracked a little bit. Of course, we still have the carry jungler, but it seems to me that if you had replaced Lillia with a Trundle, this is a regular season Rogue comp that we've been pretty much seeing all summer long.
Yeah, I will say Rogue still do have a lot of good zone control options to deal with the Graves. That's one of the things that gives him a really tough time as a pick. Like an Azir, the Gangplank barrels being on the ground can be relatively difficult for him, but Wunder is going to go back to the Neeko range matchup in the GP, obviously going to be very, very good, but this is something G2 love to do. They see Wunder playing against Finn, they're like, get the counter pick and slam him in lane.
It does surprise me though, because when he hovered so many other counter picks, right? He was hovering, I know Shen isn't a counter to it, but I know Shen can do well into the GP, but he hovered Cho'Gath, he also hovered Scion, and I was like, I feel like both of those make a little bit more sense to me than the Neeko does, especially during the laning phase when you could just orange out the route. So I'm curious as to how this matchup plays out. Maybe there's more that I haven't quite figured out yet, because also I think Neeko is great against dive comps, but Rogue's comp doesn't really feel like a dive comp. It feels very front to back, so the Neeko pick does surprise me.
Yeah, and when you see like Lillia, she's a very fast champion, so a lot of Neeko's CC is very telegraphed, delayed.
Yeah.
You see her ultimate, of course, Thresh to deal with that too, so this is going to be a little bit of a spicy one for Wunder in the top lane.
We'll find out if he can make it work. He's 6-0 undefeated on that Neeko and has played at these playoffs already. G2 taking on Rogue. And I don't have my music transition. It's really hard to time that. It's so hard to time that.
Just sing for us, Trevor.
Are we supposed
Not
to
a
just
chance.
not say anything? I don't know. It's weird. They've changed the rules.
We
Anyway,
do have a member of Electronic with us. Maybe he should sing for us next time.
time for a show. Anyway, jumping into game 3. Let's have a look at the minimap. Ender, let's talk about like early jungle pathing, early vision. We can see that the Graves has dropped this little ward here. Same for the Lillia, likely going to go back and get that early reset. What do we think of a jungle pathing, Ender?
Well, obviously, whenever Lillia is going to be in the game, the highest priority is like Raptor Camp, because Lillia loves to sprint through her jungle and take those away. And it was one of the reasons why I was like, maybe this Neeko pick is more about getting priority for Jankos to play much more aggressively. Because back in game 1, Jankos was constantly invading the top side jungle for Rogue and wasn't able to play for the early crabs like he would have liked to, or those Gromp camps without getting punished. So he wanted some stronger lanes this time around, which hints to me that he'd like to play a little more aggressively inside of Inspired's jungle. But I think as far as early pathing is concerned, with the good vision placed down by Rogue at level 1, Jankos is going to be confined to his jungle for his first 5 games.
Looks like it. Going to be starting off with the red buff. Yeah, actually look for.
I mean, he could go red to blue, like that's an option. But because of all the vision, he does have Sweeper that will spot it out. But I don't know. He's going to try to run topside, but again, early ward will make this play not work out.
Wunder's trading very heavily with Finn for the time being. Finn pretty happy to fight in the minion wave. Now starts to back away. Jankos decided not to go out towards that lane, and a parlay to the face. Means Wunder does take a lot of damage. And the wave will stop pushing towards him.
Now, Finn is taking the gamble here that Jankos did not stick around in the top side, because as you can see, like his wave is built up, it's a little bit larger, it should be pushing towards Wunder's side, and with the ward being cleared out by Jankos, like the Graves could be up here, but of course Finn realizes like Jankos probably not going to waste that much time in case he did back away, so we'll hit level 2 and maintain control, but I think Jankos is going to loop around for a level 3 gank after finishing off the Krug camp. This is a little bit uncommon of a path to go down to Raptors and then back up top, but it is always to set up for a top lane play.
Wunder has to reset now. He has to. He's taken far too much damage. Finn burning all of his resources in order to stay healthy with the... why have I forgotten the name? The health pot that gives you 3 things.
Corrupting potion.
Corrupting potion. Thank you. I buy it all the time. It's just the thing that gives me health. Yeah, he's going to burn that to get a lot of early aggression. But here comes the Graves, the TP in as well.
The gank is so hard, though. There's a giant minion wave here. Jankos will get past it, though.
Okay, so Wunder's already going to lose something if that manages to make it to the tower. That will be the flash secured. And Jankos and Wunder will say, we're happy with that.
Look at the wave, though. Oh, this is a juicy freeze. Of course, Finn does have the TP, so he's likely going to be able to TP back in and break this. The thing that he has to be careful of, that if he does just suddenly TP back in, there is, of course, like this TP.
Yes.
Noted he TP'd to the tower, not to the minion wave, because if the Graves was just sitting in there, then it would have been very bad for Finn, and he could have just given away.
Yeah, Finn also saw Jankos walk into the bush there, so knows there's only one to clear away, but this has meant that Inspired gets so much time to walk walk in here and steal away Jankos' blue buff. They could even look to turn it on towards Mikyx, but I mean, now Inspired is in a beautiful position. He takes bot side Scuttle Crab, he can get the respawn of his Raptor camp, and then, I mean, if I'm Inspired, I might even forget about my own red buff and just look to play for the top side Crab as well.
Does he manage to do that? Looks to be the case, well, for the time being at least. I mean, Inspired had the help there of HUD and VandeR. Is looking at the minimap. Larssen had actually backed, was not available while Caps was dealing with a big wave in front of him. And they managed to steal away that buff. It is so oppressive when Lillia is able to run through the jungle in the speed that she is, and she's making her way towards that crab. So it does look like that's what's happening here, Ender.
Yeah, I'm big fan of this one, especially with the pressure Finn was able to build up in the top side of the map. Difficult thing is Caps did teleport back to lane with push, and Inspired Smite going to be a few seconds off for both junglers. Even with the level 4, it's hard to walk in because Caps is first on the move.
Yeah, Wunder and Caps both started to peel towards the river. Waves pushed towards Finn and Larssen respectively. So Jankos able to get the Scuttle Crab up in the top lane. Maintain just a minor advantage for now, but Jankos already off to a slightly better start than we saw from game number 1, and we'll find a slightly low health Inspired and try to steal away the Gromp, which he does.
This is exactly what I was talking about. This is where I think the Neeko picks makes a lot more sense in the context of what G2 is trying to accomplish and what Jankos is trying to accomplish, because now Jankos gets the respawns of both the Gromp camp, says thank you for leash, and the Raptor 2. Here we go.
Death Sentence into the play. Exhaust comes out. That's the cleanse as well. Ignite comes down. Mikyx goes down for first blood.
Of all the times for Mickey's hook not to hit the wall, it's in a situation where he needs it to escape.
And it was Perkz on Euphoria that said dying 2v2 in the current meta is kind of cringe. And losing in a matchup like this against Hans Sommer's comfort pick is definitely not the situation that G2's bot lane want to find themselves in.
You were talking about whether the Aphelios or the Senna would, how they would play out in the laning phase. It helps when VandeR gets his hands on the Thresh, gets a fantastic Death Sentence, and just manages to set up Hans Sommer, as we said, 10 games during the regular season on this pick. It's his first one in playoffs. It's the first Aphelios of playoffs as well. And with his first back, will grab himself boots and that B of swords. So that's going to be a little frustrating to deal with for Perkz.
Here we go. Mickey's in mid lane. Doesn't connect on the hook, though.
That's 2 misses that could have been very important.
So I find it funny that Larssen literally just stood behind minions and then didn't move, because most people would, but respect for him for the patience. Now we see a loop around.
Try number 2.
Jankos is around level 5.
Don't even burn it.
Available for Larssen. As the Swirl Seed is chucked out, that will go all the way across the map. But Summoner Spell there was used, and at the end of the day, now G2 looking for another engage. They find themselves the Dredge line onto VandeR. Sleepy Trouble Bubble will travel through the wall, and VandeR's able to escape. He's forced to flash and use that Blast Cone. But G2 are hunting. They're trying to find targets.
Trying to utilize some of the pressure that Caps can bring on this Zoe. They also now rotate through to the bot side of the map. They know that the bot side Scuttle is spawning. It looks like Jankos just wants to offer a little bit of assistance so they can push this out. Maybe look for an early Drake. He is setting up for it. He is going to kick this one off on the Graves. Should be relatively easy to solo this one out. And then G2 can look for an early swap up towards topside, kind of going old school. I say old school, we were seeing it during the regular season where you would very commonly see this 8-minute swap, and funnily enough, you would very often see it from a rogue. They would get early priority through the bot side of the map, secure the early Drake, swap up to top at around 8 minutes, play for that objective, and that's where they built a lot of their advantages through playing for these early neutrals.
And look at the map play, because obviously it's very easy to focus on the Dragon, but Caps picked up a flash out of mid lane and then walked all the way into the enemy Raptor camp to try and find Inspired. The same was said of Wunder, who pushed out the top wave, walked in, placed a control ward, placed a ward inside of Inspired's jungle up there too. So G2 with very strong map control, setting up for a potential swap on the reset, but here we go with the hook.
Inspired has sat down in that bottom lane for a very long time. The Death Sentence will not connect, as Mikyx able to use that Dredge line to safety. Jankos now arrives in time, and the damage is coming out from the Ranger's focus. Hans Sommer gets caught, blown up, and dead, as Mikyx is able to find the support. Now, it's not done yet, as Caps making his way through the Tribush, and that's so much damage from the collateral damage. And Inspired may be the next target on the list. Sidesteps the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, gets away from the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and the Lillia's speed just allows her to run away to safety, enlisting the help with the Krugs to body block the Paddle Star, and the Dredge line is also moved away from. Man, her movement speed is just disgusting.
Look, it's nasty, but Rogue lost big time at the end of the day. Both bot laners do end up falling in Hans Sommer and VandeR, and it's again with Rogue committing so hard for a play. Inspired is down towards the bottom side, so of course VandeR's Wander's like, hey, I can lantern you in, we can go for the play. And I'm not quite sure, I think Finn was already level 6 at the start of this play, but his ultimate does come in quite late.
So what I think is really interesting is Neeko actually rotated up from the top lane down towards blue buff and actually spotted out very quickly that the blue buff was still there. So G2 in their eyes are probably thinking that, hey, it's actually safe on the bot side of the map, not realizing that Inspired is just sitting here, only level 5. So they aren't able to make this play happen. Then the Graves gets level 6, throws the ultimate out and secures that kill onto VandeR. So as you rightly said, and a lot committed in terms of both time, resources, summoner spells, everything, to only result in failure in what could have been a very strong play for Rogue Boss.
Inspired was sitting in that bottom lane because he had no camps in the southern quadrant at all for a very long time, and then the play obviously doesn't work out. The kills were picked up by Jankos and Mikyx respectively. That'll give G2 the lead for now. But it's just been very coordinated thus far as the gank in that bottom lane. And HunSummer on this Aphelios, we'll have to see how he continues to scale up into the game, because we've seen 200 years, time and time and time again. But if he's caught by an Ashe Arrow or a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, he may not have the opportunity to go full 200 years, as he really does shine against a lot of those closer range sort of melee type champions. As now Inspired is now making his way towards the middle lane. No one there yet. Cav paying a lot of respect and sitting very far back.
Yeah, so at this point, Larssen does have push over mid and will walk down. I don't think Rogue can really look to make a play down towards bot side. Perkz and Mikyx playing quite cautiously with Jankos around the top. But Jankos did just finish Warrior, so he feels super, super strong. And there's a TP ward for Wunder, who just got his teleport in behind. It's about to expire, and G2 are going to miss the window.
Oh, HunSummer and VandeR didn't realize how close they could have been there to death. Managed to back away. But again, 3 games in a row. 3 times we've seen both G2 and Rogue fully committing to this type of dive gameplay, which is very, very fun. And if you look at the minimap for now, Jankos pushing in towards the bottom quadrant. Perkz will be forced to use the cleanse. He's still sitting on the flash. TP comes out. That's the Ashe Arrow locking down VandeR. He will get taken out before Caps can even arrive. And the Trouble Bubble will pick up the second. So nicely done.
Best part, it wasn't even Wunder's TP. Cap switched over to that with the Spellbook, runs into that bottom lane, picks up 2 kills. Now Jankos inside the enemy jungle, but is it too much?
All right, Swirl Seed comes out. That will hold him in place for now. Here comes Larssen. Flash away from Jankos. Keeps him alive, and the Sleepy Trouble Bubble falls just so short. He even gets the red buff on the way out.
Okay, execution is now starting to fumble from Rogue, and you can see that G2 is slowly starting to ramp up as the series is progressing. That bot lane play initially, that was a hook onto Perkz. He gets caught out, but the instant cleanse is what allows him to turn this play back in his favor. Good patience from the G2 bot lane, and then Jankos, knowing that he had the numbers advantage, goes to the invade, is able to steal away the red buff. Rogue continuing trying to invest in things and not actually getting a huge amount of return. So what was in game 1 a huge outplay from Rogue individually now feels like G2, the shoe's on the other foot.
There's no doubt about it. And Wunder still has his TP. Just before Caps teleported into that bottom lane, we were talking about how Wunder could join. There was that, deep ward inside the lane. He's up 30 CS in the top lane, by the way, and still could set up a play. That Pop Blossom could be huge, especially on a flashless HunSummer.
Yeah, so with Finn teleporting up into the top side, Wunder holding on to his, that means Rogue are going to be giving up this Ocean Drake for nothing. Here we go, Finn going in though.
Looking for the solo kill. Pop Blossom is stepped away from. Parley comes out. Finn's been down the whole time, and Inspired will run up and not chase further. Wunder's flash is secured. It's traded for Finn's. And while that's going on, now G2 may be setting up for a dive down bottom. Rogue are aware of it though. Larssen gets caught by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Paddle Star hits him in the face. Ignite as well. Auto and auto. Cap stepping forward with a Spell Thief. Goes golden under the tower thanks to Stopwatch, and Larssen not dead just yet. The tower will finally take him out as Wunder actually commits the TP for the play and won't be able to get anything more.
Yeah, but just Caps is just styling on Larssen in the mid lane, picking up a million different summoner spells, had an Ignite, picked up his Flash, the Zone, or used the Stopwatch there too, while Jankos can find the Ocean Dragon right here. This is a very different G2 in game 3.
And what a disappointing end result for Larssen. He's had so many opportunities to outplay Caps, to get those solo kills onto Caps, and he's missed every single one of them. But then the moment you give that opportunity to Caps, he's diving under your tower, he gets that kill. He's now 3-0-0 on his most played champion this split, and G2 is set up to carry this game.
It's just a drastic difference, and like you said, a few pivotal skill shots. How different could things be? That tower dive in game number 2 from Larssen's Akali could have had that double kill, unable to complete it. and it just plays out in G2's favor. This time around, though, Caps, he locked in the Zoe. We weren't 100% sure in terms of the composition, but he's making it work, and these tower dives in conjunction with Jankos' Graves is just putting so much pressure onto Rogue. They're 3k gold up. The Ashe arrow connects onto VandeR, and that's so much damage onto Inspired. Now Caps starts to fall back as Larssen arrives with the TP. Moonlight Vigil comes down as well, and the Emperor's Divide will at least lock Mikyx down. He gets the dredge line to the wall and will go down. As now Larssen and the rest of Rogue are going to push towards the tower.
Yeah, very important kill there for Larssen to be able to pick up. They have the Rift Herald. They could drop this one 10 seconds away from plates going down. I feel like they had to drop it there to play for the plates. They lose out on a lot of potential gold by not making that play, and that is just too late.
I mean, Caps has still got the flash available to him. He's trying to just fish for Rogue members.
Oh.
So much damage onto Hans Sama. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, sidestep by everyone on Rogue. The recall has finished now, so Larssen manages to make it out, but Caps is not done yet. Paddle Star, not going to find a target one more time. They're getting a hit by VandeR, body blocked.
It's a casual 1v3.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Like, that was a Are you kidding? That is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Oh my word, Caps is just styling on Rogue right now, and
He broke the entire game. That's how good his Zoe was. He portal jumped into a different dimension.
oh my word, Caps. All right, we're gonna get some more information for you in a little bit, but wow, like,
I've
he's
got
just
some
smurfing.
information for you.
Yeah.
Caps, pretty damn good.
Could Rogue have done something different there? Like, they practically
Well-
ignored him and let him shoot them, right?
Well, so from their perspective, like, Caps can't approach, right? However, Caps, his goal there isn't really to approach, it's just to utilize his insanely long range and to just, like, keep hitting you out. And I think that VandeR's perspective is, okay, if I stand here, he can't come over the wall because I can hook him, I can flame, he's going to die. And then Caps is like, I don't care about you. And he never gave him an opportunity. So, yeah, that was pretty wild. Caps now sitting at 4 kills. G2 sitting at a pretty sizable gold advantage.
Absolutely the case. If you are sticking with us, we don't know quite yet, on the caster desk at least, what the cause of the pause is. Our production team are currently investigating. As soon as I have more information, I will share with you. But G2 definitely awake. I was a little bit nervous in game 1 in terms of, you know, how they were playing and how they were performing. But in like typical G2 fashion, lose game 1, and then start to ramp up throughout the course of the series. And this is a dominant lead before what is about 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're seeing them play much better. I think, like, individually, Caps showing up in the mid lane, of course, with a solo kill over Larssen is going to be a really big deal. But I also think, like, Jankos' early pathing on the Graves, very different to game number 1, using the priority we saw from Wunder in the top lane to make some plays, to burn Finn's flash very early too, and transitioning that power into early objectives, like the Dragon down bot side too. I do feel like G2, as a team, are just playing the map much better than we saw the last couple games.
Definitely the case. And I think one of the things that I'm going to be interested to see and discuss after this fact is that for Rogue as a team and for the individual players, especially the likes of Larssen, this was a measuring stick series, you know? How competitive are they with G2? They were the underdogs coming in. They managed to pick up game number 1, the first time in the organization's history. And Larssen's Akali is going to be a talking point. You know, there's a few minor points that are pivotal in the impact that he had in the game. You see what Caps can do on the Zoe, and those few skill shots go wide, and it's just that last step that Larssen has to get control of in the high-pressure games.
I mean, so this is the really interesting thing, right? With champions like Akali, with champions that have extremely high skill expression, you look at players internationally that are, like, renowned for this, but like Caps, Amisai last year, definitely under reputation on his Akali and his Sylas. Showmaker is another very well-known Akali player. Like, he was an Akali one-trick, insanely talented, right? You have, like, rookie Syndra, for example. Like, there are certain champions internationally you have to respect, you have to acknowledge, and you have to realize how insanely powerful they are. And it's valuable if you can pick them and take those away from people. And I think that while I still have a lot of faith in Larssen's Akali, there is still a little bit of a gap. At least what we've seen so far in this series between him and perhaps some of the strong international competition. So I think eyes are still on Larssen to see how he stacks up against Caps. I think that in the first 2 games, he and Inspired together were very strong, but here in game 3, with the comforts of Caps, you can start to see some of the differences between them.
Yeah, and I definitely think, you know, something I said when we were off air in between games is that it feels like the Rogue game plan in games 1 and 2 was just go. You know, throw yourself in there, go for the fights. Game 1, they had a lead, they had the information, so it looked fantastic. Game 2, playing from a deficit, it didn't quite work out. Now we're in game 3. G2 have gotten very far ahead with some fantastic tower dives, and I want to see how they're going to come back.
Yeah, because in games 1 and 2, don't forget, like even game 2 that they lost, Inspired was still able to find plays and make stuff happen early on the Hecarim, playing around mid lane and sort of shutting down Caps' ability to make big plays. And in this game on the Lillia, he has been very much contained. And when I look around, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of opportunities to make a lot of plays. Like Neeko's just really hard to deal with in the top lane. You don't really want to go up there. Bot side, it's an Ashe and a Nautilus. Those plays have gotten turned around on them a couple of times now too. So Rogue have tried to make plays, they just haven't really found the mark.
And I think that the thing that concerns me is that we're kind of seeing a Rogue draft that, you know, they were heavily criticized for, like coming into playoffs. This was the type of drafting that they lost to Fnatic with, because sometimes you don't have as much agency in the early game. Sometimes you don't have the level of early playmaking, or you're putting Inspired in a position where he can carry, or you're putting Larssen in a position where he can do the same. And so I think that the fact that they're kind of defaulting to this after some of the pocket key picks have been banned away is a little bit concerning, and hopefully with at the very least another game left, we get to see some more adaptation. But still a long way left to go in this game as we figure out what's going on.
I've been waiting for the monologue to end. It was fantastic, by the way. Thank you.
I was sending
Do you have an update? Currently, we are experiencing a technical issue with one of our observer PCs, or our observer PCs in the studio, where the game is in a forced pause. The gameplay for the players at home are currently unaffected, and the teams are still playing currently. We will be back on the Rift soon. As we work on this issue, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Bye.
Thank you very much. So hopefully we can get into that very soon. That's kind of an awkward one, because like, you know the game's being played, yet we're not showing it. It's that's an awkward one. But hopefully, yeah, I would say Rogue could actually benefit from an actual pause, probably, because it seems like
a reset.
a reset, because it feels like they have went into a reset in terms of kind of picks and bans and play style after that second game. And I know you guys were mentioning the fact that out of the different styles we've seen, we don't actually want to see too much of this style for Rogue.
I mean,
or
I don't care if Rogue play this style because they are very good at it. I do care that they try to force outside of when their champions are powerful.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what the casters were dancing around. Like, if you want to do this, that's fine. But like, if you have an Azir, an Aphelios, a Gangplank, and a Lillia, there's no reason to try to be forcing early fights, especially against G2's composition, and kind of throwing some of these leads away.
I'm also so confused because we saw the Thresh ban now in 2 games, and this was probably the reason why, but picking Aphelios Thresh when you only see Ashe and Graves is so silly. The Zoe comes in, and then, of course, the last pick, Neeko. They were considering the Cho'Gath, but they just want to pick more and more ranged champions against the Aphelios. And playing Aphelios against this team is going to be so difficult. That's why we've seen Aphelios been kind of phased out from the meta. He was too OP at one point, where he could create like magical moments, and even though he's short range, there were moments where he's not, where he's just sniping people. And those moments have kind of gone away, and his strengths are very clear. If people run into him, he's going to get some pentacles. But this is a game where no one's going to ever run into him. He's going to get smoke screens, he's going to get slowed by the Glacial Augment. This is a very tough game to play. And I feel like this reminds me of the second game draft too, where there will be a point in time where Rogue's draft will have to face the consequence of what is a team fight, and that's going to be so difficult to execute because you have these champions that are so good ranged against Aphelios and Azir, and it's going to be just not a situation where they run in.
sorry to jump in, Frosk. I have a small update, and then I'll get straight back over to you. As an update, the observers are reloading back in the game right now. We'll be back in the game in just 3 minutes, which gives us just a little bit of time, and a perfect amount of time, to give your final thoughts about this draft.
Okay, well, my final thoughts, I guess, if we're just...
I mean, they're 3 minutes long, so it doesn't necessarily have to be
I was like, do we get to talk about the Zoe now? But I don't know if we want. Okay, I really want to talk about the Zoe. So the fact that Zoe was allowed through, that they banned the Akali, and then the Syndra ban came in, I think that should have been a Zoe ban. Now, obviously, you have to pick your poison. Do you give Caps his Syndra, which is an incredible champion, or do you give Caps his Zoe, which has a really good matchup into Azir? And then Larssen had to make the hard choice. Am I playing Azir this game? Am I playing the Orianna? He decides to go for Azir. The reason why Zoe is so awesome for Caps is because you hit a single bubble. Doesn't really matter what the game state is, and you can completely turn things. It's how the anticlimactic end of G2's last series went. We're like, oh yeah, they're gonna set up for deep vision. Nope, Caps finds a snipe, and then suddenly the game just ends. It is such a powerful champion for him and G2, and not every Zoe player can do that, but Caps can. And now Rogue just have to survive it, but Collapse has come online, and it doesn't look like they're going to.
And it seems like all of G2's players are playing more crisp than they were, especially in that first game, right, Yamato?
Yeah, it's it's been kind of a sloppy day where we didn't see any kind of incredible mechanical outplays or anything.
True.
I think there was a lot of mechanical misplays that were settled with how the drafts are supposed to be played out. And this game, I think this is kind of what we expected from the matchup between Rogue and G2, a strong 2v2 into bottom side pressure. But I just want to add the final point. Please first pick Ashe. This champion is so OP.
Yes.
LCK has shown you this for a very long time. Just first pick the Ashe, damn it.
Yeah, just first pick the Ashe indeed. And I want us to be careful because the game is not over. We don't know what has gone on that we haven't seen. So let's think about, the series not being over and this game not being over, because I think we deserve to give Rogue that credit. First off, is this game turnable or is this it for Rogue for this game at least?
No, I think they absolutely have win conditions here. But the thing is when Rogue fall back to their plan B, it's get Larssen to a side lane, funnel as much CS into him, and then hopefully Larssen can carry with the team fight. But I think Gangplank is actually the more important champion for this composition based on what they're facing with G2.
I think so as well. The GP ult is very powerful against this comp. I agree there. I think they have a lot of champions that have the potential to create situations that are very chaotic. One Thresh hook lands and all of a sudden, the game shifts.
It's banned for a reason, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's troll.
You're like, no.
I think it's troll, but okay, let's see. Gangplank barrels can do something magic. Lillia, maybe she gets a 5-man sleep. Who knows? Azir can do some crazy stuff too. They have some room to outplay, but to do it against G2 feels almost impossible, but maybe it can happen.
I mean, they didn't beat them once before today, and they did that. So in terms of impossible, I think it's all changed a bit in the minds of Rogue, hopefully. So let's think back then, or let's think forward in the context of the series, because no matter how this game goes, right, either will be on match point. How do you see the rest of the series evolving?
Well, we think that Rogue's priority has been Hecarim Lillia, and I think it will change to if Hecarim's denied that they'll grab the Ashe, because I think Ashe is causing a lot of problems. I think that will be the first takeaway from this draft. I think the second takeaway, depending on how Larssen feels with the Azir matchup, is if he goes towards the Akalis or Lucians, these very lane-dominant champions in terms of their kill and trade pressure, or if he sticks with kind of the more farming, scaling mid laners.
I feel like Rogue's biggest problem as well is just the top side. I feel like Wunder is just getting the better end of anything that's happening. Like this game, maybe GP had a good start, but it just didn't seem to matter. And I'm not so impressed by Finn on his Gangplank. I don't know if he can find some confidence or something else, but it just seems like he's a liability. I agree with the Ashe change up to first pick Ashe. I think that's a big deal when Hecarim's out of the picture. I think Lillia first pick is kind of strange, especially when Lucian is out, because you're going to have double AP in the mid lane, so the 2v2 power that Rogue showed in this series so far is no longer relevant. I want to see that strong combination again, because that is enough to win games if the draft allows you to. And in game number two?
Three.
Last game.
Last game, yes, game number 2.
No, this is 3.
This is 3, but game number 2,
Yep.
they were ahead. Hecarim and Akali were ahead, and it just didn't matter because Tariq just waved his hammer, and that's it.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to the Gangplank point. We had Finn on Euphoria, I think 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, and he talked about specifically how Gangplank really wasn't a champion that was made for him. But here we go, we got something more important.
Yeah, it's like in bright orange on the teleprompter, the observers are ready, so let's head back onto the Rift.
Go, guys, go!
Thank you so much, Sjokz. If you are just joining us, we did unfortunately have a problem with our observer PCs in the studio, which has been resolved. We'll be jumping back into game at the exact point that it did pause. And if you have missed the early game, well, Claps is smashing. He's on the Zoe. Him and the rest of G2 have found repeated success, pretty much ganking that bottom lane.
And he just got a 1v3 kill.
Yes.
So, there you go. That's the last thing that happened, and we are back here. Back portal jumped right into the right place, and G2 very much in firm control, and any play they make around Caps is going to go very well for them.
And as you can see, just a brief summary at 15 minutes. It is a 2,000 gold lead, 2 dragons secured for G2. And Wunder is significantly further ahead in terms of farm. He's been bullying Finn a lot. The reason I go straight there is the last thing the Analyst was talking about was that Gangplank, and something that I don't think we've said too much just now, but Finn has not had a particularly large impact this series.
I like his Ornn.
Wunder, 2 games in a row, has definitely been the shining star. I mean, he had a couple of good ultimates towards the end of that first game, of course.
I would say that Finn has been pretty consistently counterpicked, and I think that his Ornn performance demonstrated that he can still have impact. But the problem with the blind pick Gangplank is it's you can't just be an R button, you know? I think, unlike you can be with other champions, is, ooh, forces the flash out from Hansama.
Of course, the Ashe arrow forced the cleanse, and then the follow-up from Jankos, as well as Mikyx manages to force the flash, so Hansama is going to be a juicy target. As G2 just continue to put the pressure on, they continue to, you know, threaten the dive.
Yeah, G2 definitely upping the tempo in this one. You see, there's a Mejai's already picked up for Caps. Jankos has gone for a serrated Dirk now too, so the burst damage they have is absolutely insane. And the setup too with you know, tools like the bubbles and the Hextech GLP as well is going to make it really, really hard, I think, for Rogue to dodge the damage, because Rogue don't really have a tank. The flat pen of a serrated Dirk is going to be massive.
Oh, Caps is just going hunting. Every time I see him throw out that paddle star, I'm just waiting to see if he can find a target. Finn is going to be able to push this wave out, and Jankos will complete this. Okay, so no further follow-up there. They've lost one tower in the bottom lane. Finn's going to be catching that wave as best as possible, and the duo set up in the mid lane to farm this one out. And one of the things that we need to see from Rogue is how they're going to find their way back into the game. The analysts were saying it's not impossible.
Teleport.
But it's going to be difficult.
That's Caps.
As there is going to be a chase coming down here onto Larssen. No flash available to him. Will use the sliding glide, but is just easily shut down. Can't even really deal any damage.
Well, I feel like this game is becoming check the Mejai stacks, because Caps is very quickly building those up. Already at 12, 5-0-0. As we mentioned earlier, you give Caps an inch and he will take a mile. Arrow comes through.
It does indeed. That will land onto Hansama. Remember, who has no flash, no cleanse. Now the next target's going to be VandeR, and Inspired is going to get run down by Caps as he's throwing out the paddle stars. Finn will get some damage here, and the powder keg will take out at least Perkz, and that will get the flash from Jankos, but it does not feel like it's really enough. Paddle stars again from Caps, portal jump, ignite as well. He's not going to be able to find Finn, but they've unlocked.
Everything's fine, Trevor. Everything's fine for Rogue. It is not fine.
No.
G2 absolutely destroying them. You said check the Mejai stacks. We are now up to 22 for Caps' Zoe. Yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yikes indeed.
We now understand why it's been banned every game. You know, like, he's definitely good at the champion, but to have a performance like this, I think will give G2 fans a lot more confidence in their mid laner, and it really shows you how different G2 look when Caps is on form. 1-1-6 for Perkz as well. Been setting up a lot of the plays, landing a lot of great arrows, but this Caps level 12 going back in.
Oh my word. Actually,
how much does he do? Okay, 25.
Unbelievable. 25 stacks, level 12, 8-0-1.
VandeR was like, hey guys, I'll get him. And then Caps was like, who's got who in this situation?
You have some mysterious arrows always popping up on the screen.
I'm not touching it, okay?
The arrow is literally pointing at you, so I don't know. It looks like you're the culprit.
Well, G2 seem to be fully activated, gentlemen. Game 1 didn't go the way they wanted, but for Rogue now, I think talking about the drop, talking about the impact that certain champions have had for them, it has to come to light. I mean, look, they're down 6,000 gold, and there is always the possibility that they can come back in this game, but the odds are very, very low. And the Aphelios has not really worked out, nor is the Lillia this time around.
I mean, in my opinion, it's one of those awkward things where draft is somewhat irrelevant, especially in a situation like this, because a player on the enemy team has 8 kills. So even if you have the best draft in the world that perfectly counters what G2 does, if they have 8 kills and 25 Mejai stacks at 19 minutes, I'm like, it's still going to be an uphill battle on the way back into the game.
But we have to ask ourselves, like, what actually happened in this game? Because Caps, literally, he solo killed Larssen in mid lane, right? Yep. Dove the tower, got the kill, and then just perma-roamed into bot lane and got all these kills. That's where all the stacks of Mejai's came from. And in games 1 and 2, Inspired was able to play around mid lane. Like, Larssen almost solo killed Caps in the first game. The second game, Inspired kills him at level 4, so there was always pressure going down onto mid lane. This was the first game where there wasn't that pressure, and we saw Caps take over the entire game. And we've seen this all summer split. We've seen this all year long from Caps. He has the ability to completely run you down. So Rogue need to find some way to have that impact around mid lane early on, or it's going to happen again.
Well, let's see what impact can happen down the bottom lane. Pop Blossom comes out, deals a lot of damage onto Finn, but the parlay and the help of Inspired means picks up a kill. And all credit to Finn with the Trinity Force and BF Sword. That's twice now he's put a bunch of damage down. He manages to get the kill this time round. And Hansama's been the recipient of all of G2's presence.
They will be able to get that punish, but G2 are trading elsewhere on the map. They're pushing in mid, pushing in top, gonna steal away all the jungle camps. Something you'll often see at pro play. The towers, a little still dangerous to go for.
Oh,
Oh,
no!
man. That sleepy trouble bubble just sidestepped as HunSummer moved forward, not backwards. But Caps, with those 25 stacks sitting on the Ninja Lodge rod as well, collateral damage onto Larssen. No other follow-up yet from G2. That's 4 towers. I mean, it's 21 minutes into the game, and the Rift Herald is going to be pushing onto the inhibitor turret. There's even a TP coming in here as Wunder joins the fray. He's got the ultimate as well, if anything were to happen.
Oh, I mean, like, Wunder just takes the most aggressive path possible to mid as well. Just starts whacking away on this tower so the rest of G2 can roam on over here. So that's both inner turrets falling down, and with no safe way to re-enter Rogue's jungle, all of their bot side camp should be taken here. Although, I guess Graves on the top side of the map, so they probably won't lose everything. Maybe they do. Who knows? They can't walk in there or they die.
Rough game for Rogue, that's for sure. After coming into this series with momentum on their backs, looking very dominant in game 1, feels like that more draft questions are starting to prop up. Can they compete at the level that G2 brings? And one thing is for sure, when you give Caps comfort, how do you handle it? And I think that Ender, you kind of summed it up perfectly. We need to see more of that mid-jungle duo synergy in action, because Inspired and Larssen can definitely compete, but they need the champions to do it, because if they don't, this is what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Finn is under some pressure. The Swell Seed comes out, won't find Jankos. Collateral damage is on cooldown, and with the help of Finn's barrel, manages to pick up the kill. Larssen is now TP'd in, and he's in trouble. Actually, the Enchanted Crystal has gone out. TP Trouble Bubble will find his target, and that's a lot of damage onto Perkz. Inspired will be able to survive just a few seconds longer before Caps comes in with one lost order from Perkz. That's a double kill for him now, and Caps will look to chase down members of Rogue. The rest of G2 are stepping back, and with a death sentence, not finding a target. The Empress Divide will not find anyone. Larssen gets taken out. You need to hit those skill shots in G2.
Here's
Wunder.
Wunder.
The chase. Here comes Wunder from behind. May not even need that ultimate available to him. Just uses the frozen hose. And that is an ace from G2 against Rogue.
G2 just destroying Rogue on the top side right there. I mean, what can you do? Rogue are throwing everything they can at Caps, but the man is unkillable.
We continue to see these small execution errors from Larssen, but even if he had landed that ultimate, does it necessarily swing the play in their favor? Let's have a look back. Jankos, I think more question marks are still coming up, you know. We didn't really get to evaluate how his Graves has been, considering how dominant Caps has been, but that arrow was definitely wide. Larssen gets forced out.
The crazy thing is G2 mess everything up. They missed the arrow, and then here, I think in a second, Mikyx is actually going to pull VandeR out of Caps' queue. It's going to come right here after the sleep lands on VandeR. Mikyx absolutely trolls it. Watch this. Dude, this is a one-shot.
Of course, the Emperor's Divide. The thing is, it doesn't really matter even if you miss some of those skill shots, because when you're up as far as Caps and G2 are, you've got such a huge margin for error.
It's true.
They've afforded themselves all of this safety.
But I do think that throughout this series, one of the biggest talking points has been, what are these mechanical executions? Like, at the very minimum, what we expect from teams of this caliber is to come in and, like, performing the champions that they've been given, and I feel like a lot of it has been individuals not performing. Like, we've seen some solid team play, we've seen some great execution overall, and we're definitely seeing a great game from Caps, but it surprises me, some of the mis-execution and the amount that we've seen so far in this series.
I agree, and there's a lot on the line. Obviously, a win here means you get to face Fnatic tomorrow. Also guarantees first or second seed going into the World Championship. And for G2, it will be a shot at revenge. For Rogue, it will be a first ever final, but we need to see a lot more from Rogue. Game 2 wasn't this dominant of a win from G2, but it definitely was very one-sided. And Mikyx takes some damage as the inhibitor's fallen in the bottom lane. The Mountain Soul was picked up by G2 while we've been discussing how far ahead they are. It's nearly 10,000 gold. And you do start thinking, right, what do Rogue have to change for the next game? What do they have to affect? There's not much that they can do right now.
G2 now grouping up in the mid lane. Jankos looking for a flank.
Is indeed a lot of damage onto Larssen. He'll be able to use those Sand Soldiers to escape to safety, and VandeR almost gets one shot. Collateral damage, I think, fell just a little bit short there, as now the rest of G2 will push onto the inhibitor turret. Dredgeline will not be able to find a target, and the minion saves Larssen's life. G2 are going to take their second inhibitor of the game. Now,
Caps is picking up a million flashes.
That's going to be so much damage onto Inspired. He doesn't even get a chance to really do anything. The pop bottom forces flashes out of Rogue, and G2 will be able to find themselves 2 kills. Make that 3 They've now got a Nexus to target as well, and they start pushing forward onto the Nexus. The Powder Keg will clear some of those minions, and G2 will take the first Nexus turret. They've just about run out of minions, so their backdoor bonus will be in effect, and that's the second now as well. Larssen finds the Emperor's Divide with the help of Finn. He gets 3 kills. Now Finn looking for one into Perkz. Will be using the parlay to try and do some damage, but he won't get it just yet. Perkz manages to take him out. The minions are inside the base. It is very, very disheartening on Rogue's side. As they get a few kills, but it feels so little.
It was a heroic effort there from Larssen and Finn to prolong the rest of the game. They shut down Caps, you know, he's only got 17 stacks now, it should be easy, but...
Winnable. We saw Finn with the Leandries doing a lot of damage onto the Ashe as well, but really good target focus from Perkz there, being able to hit the barrels in between, weaving autos onto the Gangplank. Will force Perkz to disengage, but the base of Rogue is in tatters, and already you have to start thinking about Game 4. Again, Rogue came into this series looking good. They need to refine a recipe for success. They need to find those champions that can enable that mid-jungle duo, because if they don't, we're going to see another situation where Caps just steamrolls over the competition.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find some way of shutting down Caps early on, or at least containing him. You don't have to kill him, just make sure he stays inside of his lane and isn't roaming all around the map and getting kills. And then I really liked what Frosk was saying on the desk, like, increase the priority on the Ashe. Hecarim is banned, go for the Ashe, bring more hard engage options to other players on the team so that you can make these plays and follow up on either a Larssen or Inspired trying their hearts out to go forward and start the fights.
So much to do, and such a difficult task as well, because you make it sound so easy, just contain Caps.
Oh, it's not easy.
You know, those words sound so easy, but they're really not. But I think it is important to call out that Rogue, for a couple of games this series, have shown they can do it. They can keep him at arm's length, at least for a time. And even this game, they picked up first blood in a 2v2 down in the bottom lane. But then, all of a sudden, G2 just find a way to take over. Baron is secured as well. They've got the Mountain Soul. Rogue are setting up the Death Bush. That's the flash forward there from Inspired. Going with the ultimate, but Mickey throws out his own. The box comes down, and that's 5 members of Rogue caught inside. I think 3 got caught by the Pop Blossom, and it is just obliteration from G2. 26 kills in 28 minutes. And it is a massive, massive performance from Claps to take down Rogue and put them 1 game away from a rematch with Fnatic.
Well, what else is there to say? That was literally just the Cap show. You can see the smile on his face. He was just dominant from solo kill to 1v3 to just a stellar performance.
He was wearing Mickey's jersey.
Oh my word, very impressive performance from the G2 mid laner, and again, Rogue are going to have to change a lot coming into Game 4.
Now, Rogue, they did pick up their very first win against G2 ever at the beginning of this series. They surprised many last week by taking down Mad. And I do need to see something a bit different from them. Like you made a joke about if the Trundle, I think in the previous comp, had been there, it would have been exactly the same comp that they ran in the regular season. Do they have anything more? That is what we're going to find out. The reigning champions are now on match point and have their eyes set on that showdown with Fnatic. Give me 5, Rogue! Please.
There's no music.
I realized that.
Stop.
I was hoping.
Whenever we find our mojo in this team, we're a really good team.
Into the wall. Wunder finds the double stun, but he's shut down. Reckless gets another. Dredge line onto Mickey. He goes down as well.
I feel like if we were to lose on Sunday, we wouldn't have redeemed ourselves.
Hitting in the wings, Dredge line from Mickey's buying so much time. Wimbo's going low and he's taken out and down. Now Cap jumping into the back line, looking for Reckless. Gets the kill onto Reckless, but how much more can he do? Selfbait is rampaging across Cap's face.
And it's actually very possible to be the new kings in Europe.
time for a show. Show 'em how you outplay. Go and check the replay. Dubs like all day, boy, you better know. Know that it might be just a little hyphy. Trying to call about these, watch us go. Cause the games are straight fight. Every team fight coming down to the wire. The whole world trying just to look like us. Take a look at your league, wish you played like us. Now time to shook reality, you're facing a tragedy. When the European legacy comes sucking down your pride to be. Those feelings of anxiety, the future you don't wanna see. The wrath of our whole dynasty, it spells LEC.
This could be the final chance, our last dance together. This could be the final chance, our last dance. Are you ready? Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, let yourself be free. Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, do that Pepe D.
Talk that good shit, boy, you better back it up. If you want the LPL, sorry, that's just not enough, cause we got every team fighting lane flashbox. When they clash, you would never last less than 100. Bring your A game if you want to claim fame, that'd be your main aim. Now you're in the right lane.
Show up or shut up, no time for excuses. Can't take us serious, you're probably just useless. You want a shot at us, you can come get it. If you're just talking, then you can forget it. We're gonna blow up, we're on the rise. Euphoria, this is the vibe. We wear the clown nose and we wear the crown. Kings of the West, you know we hold it down. Like
this could be the final chance, our last dance together. This could be the final chance, our last dance. Are you ready? Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, let yourself be free. Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, do that Pepe D.
We've come a long way since the beginning. The dark days of double streams, vacation memes, now charged up and charging forward. We are the LEC. We can't be stopped, slowed, or suppressed. This tenacity is EU at its best. It's time for the LEC loyals to show their fandom. Put your hands together. This is your anthem.
Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, let yourself be free. Come on, dance with me, with the LEC.
And welcome back to the LEC. G2 has a lead on this series, and I'm going to have Ismael from Rogue with me to talk about how the series has been so far. Thank you very much for joining me, Ismael.
Hi, Laure. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm hearing a double, but it's going to be fine. You won the first game, but then G2 didn't like it, obviously. So how were the players feeling after the 2 losses here?
I mean, of course, it's hard to be 2-0 down. But I mean, we're still optimistic. I think that's the message that we are giving right now to the guys, and it's just continue being optimistic, trying to play our own game. Like, of course, we need to risk it all, basically. But I think it's a really good experience for them if we get to just turn it back. So it's gonna be great, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Can you give me some specifics about what you tell them for them to keep their chin up in these situations?
I mean, the basic idea is just we need to reset, of course, and then how we are going to approach the game. So that's what the players like to go into. So what is next? But, I mean, you cannot avoid that. It is a very stressful situation, and you cannot avoid having maybe low confidence right now or something. So basically, the message was to reset and just to continue being optimistic that it will be times to be sad or to be happy after the game only. So right now, we just try to focus on what is happening and continue being proactive, because from the inside, I think it's been going good for us. It's a good experience for us. So hopefully, we will turn it.
Hopefully. I mean, Ismael, I know how helpful you've been to the Rogue players so far. So is there any hints or specifics you can give me towards the next game? What can we expect from the players?
I think you can expect that they are going to give it all. Like, for sure, we're going to change a few things. And hopefully we will feel more comfortable for the next 2 games.
Yeah, because I mean, Rogue showing up today came with a different approach. I mean, we've been waiting for you guys to show something different on the Rift, and I feel like, especially during the game 1, we saw that today. So, going back a bit on the training you got this week, is there any specific or something new you trained on to be ready today?
I think we didn't train any specific aspect. I think what we wanted to do after the game against Fnatic was try a new style, and I think we have proven that we can play different styles. And basically what we try to do is continue understanding what we are good at and how we can play the game, how we can get comfortable in a best of 5 situation. So I think this is the perfect time for us to show up and to show or continue showing. I think we're showing that we can play different things with different styles and just be exposed to these high pressure situations.
Yeah, you proved that you had what it takes to be in this difficult situation at least. But Ismael, thank you very much for joining me, and I wish you the best of luck for the next game.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we're going to take one last break, and we'll come back in a few minutes for Game 4. Stay tuned.